Welcome to another edition of The Rundown. We got a packed show today. Of course, we're going to talk about the NFL, and a little bit towards the end, I'm going to talk a little bit about the NBA and just some of my thoughts about the regular season and what's been going on in the past week or so. But first, let's talk about some football. Giants and Eagles. Eagles won 38-20, and I was debating about whether or not I wanted to watch this game that closely or not, but I just can't get enough of Jackson Dart and Cam Scatabo. I just love the way that they play. They go balls to the walls, and it just really seems like their level of play is infectious to their other teammates, and it makes them want to rise their level of play also. And I also wanted to watch the Eagles. I've talked a lot about them this past regular season and just kind of how they're on surveillance watch. And, people and myself are still a little bit skeptical of them and weary of them. But this game, they definitely showed up. I mean, first play of the game, Saquon Barkley has a 65-yard run to the house, and that pretty much set the tone for the whole entire game, and the Eagles ran the ball very, very well. Giants started off the game strong also. I was really impressed on how on a 3rd and 7, Jackson Dart ran, and he also slid. That's been one of my main concerns about Dart is that when he runs, he just takes unnecessary hits, and that's just not a smart way to play quarterbacks. You're going to get injured, and your career is going to end faster than it should, so I think probably the coaching staff got to him and told him, hey, you need to slide when you're scrambling out of the pocket. And he did that, and hopefully he does it on a consistent basis. The second quarter, the momentum started to change, though. 8 minutes and 50 seconds left. Cam Scatabo, he dislocated his ankle. He's going to need surgery, and he's going to be out probably for the entire season, which blows. And you could just see when that injury happened, it just let out all the air on the Giants team, especially the offense. And it really seems like Dart and Scatabo are really joined at the hip, and they just feed off each other's energy. And I felt that when he went out, that it may affect the Giants' offense, but I still held out a sliver of hope that Jackson Dart would be able to make something happen. It was 21-10 at the half. Giants get the ball beginning of the third quarter, and I'm thinking, okay, you can either make this an 8-point game or a 4-point game. But Jackson Dart, he takes a 10-yard sack, and that practically ends the drive, and it's a 3-and-out. And that's another thing about Jackson Dart. I mean, the past games I've been watching, whenever he's scrambling around trying to make things happen, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but I think there are times where he just needs to throw the ball away, but maybe you just need to take the good and the bad with him. Nonetheless, the Eagles only got a field goal, and the Giants got a field goal, and it's 24-13 going into the fourth quarter, and I'm thinking, okay, the Giants still have a shot, and I'm just drinking the Jackson Dart Kool-Aid. But beginning of the fourth quarter, I knew it was over off of one play. Brian Burns sacks Jalen Hurts at the beginning of the fourth for 16 yards. And I'm thinking, okay, the Giants defense, they have a sense of urgency. They know what's at stake, and they know that they need to win this game. But on 2nd and 31, Tank Bixby runs for 31 yards. And that was just pathetic because it was just missed tackles all over the place, and he was just rolling those dudes over like they were a bunch of bowling pins. And I'm pretty disappointed in the Giants defense because after that outing they had against Denver where they blew a 18-point lead in the fourth quarter, and also when Jackson Dart gives them the lead with like 40 seconds left, and Bo Nix comes down and gets a field goal, I thought they would come out with more fire in them, but evidently they couldn't do anything. Maybe that's because the Giants defense isn't any good, or maybe it's because the Eagles have a pretty potent offense. But before this game, the Eagles rushing attack really wasn't doing all that much. I mean, they were averaging like 3.3 yards a carry before this game, and now Saquon and Tank Bixby went off. But nonetheless, I got to give the Eagles credit. I've been skeptical about them. I thought they were going to lose against Minnesota and that Jalen Hurts was going to struggle against that Brian Flores defense. He did not. He had his best passing game. This game, a couple weeks ago, the Giants bested the Eagles on Thursday Night Football. I thought this may be a game the Eagles would lose. They didn't. They kind of boat raced them towards the end. And Saquon Barkley and Tank Bixby, they showed up when it mattered the most, and Jalen Hurts made big plays with his arm. Devontae Smith had a pretty good day, and it really seems like when there's dissension in the Eagles locker room, I don't know, it just seems like it doesn't affect them all that much in terms of wins and losses. Last year, AJ Brown was complaining about the passing game. Brandon Graham was talking about how Jalen Hurts and AJ Brown don't really vibe with each other anymore, and how that relationship has gotten a little bit fractured. Didn't matter. They won the Super Bowl. This year, they're 6-2. I don't know if they're going to win the Super Bowl or not, but they're certainly going to win their division. And once you get into the dance, anything can happen. Giants talked about the Scatteroo injury. That's just so tough. I hate that it happened to him. Hopefully next year he can just come back better. Tough loss, especially when you lose against the Broncos. If they won against the Broncos and did what they were supposed to do, and they lost this game, it wouldn't be that bad. But unfortunately, they lost this game. Uh, Jackson Dart, he's progressing. He didn't have like the greatest game, but I was still impressed with his toughness. And I talked about this before. I'm not really concerned about wins and losses with Jackson Dart. I just want to see him have like, a good finish to the season and just see that he's improving, and he's certainly doing that. And speaking of another team that got boat raced, I want to talk about the Denver and Dallas game. Denver won 44-24, and I really thought the Cowboys had a shot to win it, especially the way that they absolutely blew out the Commanders. And I thought they had a shot at first. One of the first plays of the game, Bo Nix throws an interception, and I'm thinking, oh boy, this is going to be a disaster. And then Dallas obviously gets the ball. Dak throws a 29-yard bomb to Lamb off of play action. They get it to Denver's 3-yard line. Unfortunately, they can't get a touchdown out of it. The run game couldn't get anything going in that range. Dak throws and you get nothing out of it. Then they get a false start, move back, and they have to kick a field goal. But Denver, they came back and they kind of did the Dallas on Dallas. They started off hot offensively. All of a sudden, they get two tutties and it's 14-3. And one of the tutties was a 40-yard touchdown run by RJ Harvey. And eventually, Denver goes up 20-10, and it was really interesting. It was like 3 minutes and 47 seconds left in the second quarter. It's 2nd and 1. Javonte Williams runs, nothing. Dak throws, nothing. And it's 4th and 1, and Dallas elected to punt. I know it was like at their own 29-yard line, but still, I thought that they would be more aggressive, especially considering that Dak has been balling out. Dallas's defense is absolutely god awful and is just horrible, and they couldn't stop a parked car. So I thought they would be more aggressive, and if they had a good defense, I could understand them not being aggressive and punting away. But even teams like the Commanders, when Daniels is healthy, and of course the Lions, they would go for it, and their defenses are way better than the Cowboys. So just disappointing that Dallas wasn't more aggressive, especially when you leave a lot of time for the Broncos to come down and make something happen. And it just flipped the whole momentum of the game because Denver comes down and scores, and all of a sudden it's 27-10. Dallas gets the ball back with like 40 seconds left in the half, and you're thinking, okay, let's just get a field goal. Let's be down 2 touchdowns before the half. Let's get the ball back in the third quarter, make it a 7-point game. But Dak throws a terrible pick. It was underthrown, and it was like in triple coverage, and it just seemed like he was really, really pressing, and I can understand why he would want to press. The defense is god awful, and he probably feels like we need to score if we're gonna keep up with this Denver Broncos team. I'm not gonna excoriate him for that because I can understand why he would want to make something happen. Luckily, Denver really couldn't get anything out of it. Dallas eventually got it to 17-27, but like I said, defense was god awful. Whatever chance Dallas had of potentially winning this game, the defense just gave it up and they just decided to go brain dead. And I can just imagine how deflating it can be for Dallas's offense when your defense is giving you absolutely nothing. You just feel like you have to score every single time, and it just feels like you have no margin of error whatsoever. And when you have no margin of error, it's just tough to play it like that, and you're going to be bound and you're going to make mistakes. And another thing about Dallas is penalties also screwed them over. They had 9 penalties for 80 yards, 4 of them offensively. I like Brian Schottenheimer. I think he's been an excellent coach so far, and just the way he's been coaching offensively and doing his play calling, he's been really doing his thing. But I've always felt that penalties are a coach's stats, and if your team gets a lot of penalties, that's on the coaches for not instilling that discipline. And that was also a problem in the McCarthy era, especially in the playoffs. So that's something that Schottenheimer is going to need to clean up, and all the other coaches on the staff are going to need to clean up. Like I've said before, Dallas is probably done. At best, they can get 8, 9 wins at this point. That Carolina game should have been the telltale sign that this team wasn't going to be able to do anything, because when you give up 27 points to Carolina and they just run roughshod all over you, it probably meant that Dallas's defense was never going to turn it around. I don't know if Matt Eberflus is the guy or not. I mean, I just look at Lou Anarumo with the Bengals and how that defense was awful, and all of a sudden he goes to the Colts and they have a very good defense. And you need players if you want to have a good defense. And Matt Eberflus doesn't really have a lot of talent, and he was a pretty good defensive coordinator when he was on the Colts. I mean, as a head coach, he was an absolute utter disaster in Chicago, but as a defensive coordinator, he was pretty good. So I don't know if it's on him or not, but I know that they absolutely need to get more talent in Dallas if they want to make something happen defensively. Lots of people are talking about how Jerry needs to make a trade. I don't know what trade is really out there. Maybe Myles Garrett. He's probably disgruntled about the fact that the man had 5 sacks and they still got blown out by New England. So maybe that's a potential option. I don't know if the Raiders are going to trade Max Crosby. That Dallas is going to have to give up some assets, definitely some picks or so. But I don't know. It's probably not in the cards this season to make a trade, but who knows? Maybe Jerry can pull something out of his hat. Talked about Dallas. Now I want to talk about Denver. Bo Nix was awesome. 19 for 29, 4 touchdowns and 1 interception. Kind of a get right game for him. And it looks like against Dallas's defense, that's a get right game for a lot of people. Last 5 games, they talked about it on the broadcast, like they had 3 and out on their opening drives. Didn't happen this time around. I talked about Bo Nix's touch on deep balls and how he just doesn't have good touch. Yet he had a couple missed throws on deep balls, but he really turned it around this game for sure. And it wasn't just through the air. J.K. Dobbins ran roughshod. He had 15 carries for 111 yards. And when you can do it through the air and on the ground, that's absolutely a recipe for success. So Denver, they're 6-2 now, and this division, the AFC West, I believe it's going to be crazy with the Chiefs, the Chargers, and the Broncos. The Chargers, they got Joe Alt back, so it's going to be a 3-team race, and I'm excited to see what happens. But I think all 3 of those teams are going to make the playoffs. Now I want to talk about Pittsburgh and Green Bay. Green Bay won 35-25, and I was really hyped for this game. Aaron Rodgers, he talked about how this wasn't like a big game for him, and he didn't have a massive chip on his shoulder. I vehemently disagree. I think he's lying. I think he probably had a massive chip on his shoulder, and he probably wanted to get back at the Packers. I don't think he hates the organization as a whole, but I'm sure there are like some people in the organization he doesn't like, especially Brian Gutekunst when he called that man Jerry Krause in his last season. So I was hyped because I thought Arod was going to have a game, and it really looked like he was gonna. On the first drive, he has like a 45-yard bomb to Roman Wilson, who's like wide open down the sideline. I'm thinking, okay, he's back. They get a field goal. They go up 3-0. And Pittsburgh's offense was humming in the first half while Green Bay started out slow. Green Bay had 3-and-outs in the first half, and at the half, Pittsburgh is up 16-7. And I'm thinking, okay, all the momentum is on Pittsburgh's side. Just the emotion and everything. Them being at home, they got a shot of winning this. Arod facing his former team, he's going to give it to him. Green Bay's offense kind of looked discombobulated. And towards the end of the half, Pittsburgh finally got a touchdown after settling for field goals. But then in the second half, the momentum, as it always does in football, completely shifted. Pittsburgh gets the ball to start off the third quarter. It's 3-and-out. Green Bay gets it, then all of a sudden it's 16-14, and Love has one crazy play where he gets hit as he throws and the ball is just floating in the air, and Tucker Kraft gets it and he gets crazy yak out of it, and it's a 59-yard completion. And it was just that type of Jordan Love. He just had a couple of those throws where he just gets hit and he throws it and one of his receivers catches it. Pittsburgh, they just couldn't get into the end zone, and all of a sudden Green Bay is up 29-19, and Jordan Love throwing bombs all over the place, especially to his man Tucker Kraft, who's a security blanket, and their offense gets rolling, and Pittsburgh's offense couldn't do jack. Arod too many times just stood in the pocket looking for someone, and he just got sacked, and that led to quite a few 3rd and 18s, 3rd and 15s, and when you're just facing 3rd and long, it's just hard to do that, especially when you're a team like Pittsburgh and you don't have a lot of talent on the perimeter. Even for teams that have a lot of talent on the perimeter, it's hard to do 3rd and 18, 3rd and 15. So for Pittsburgh, it's damn near impossible because other than DK, they just don't have that much talent really, and they have to rely a lot on their tight ends. And there was one play where it's 2nd and 7 and Green Bay is down 29-19. And DK just causes a dumb penalty to get 15 yards because of unnecessary roughness. Him and Quay Walker are jawing back and forth with each other, and he just sticks his finger in Quay Walker's helmet and just gets in his eyes, and that was just ridiculous. And after that, they didn't stand a chance, and Green Bay just put Pittsburgh to bed. I like DK. I miss him. I think he would be an additive on the Seahawks team, but it's just plays like that where I just don't miss him whatsoever. And he would do that, especially against the 49ers, where like he would jaw with opposing corners, and it would just cause us to get flags and move back, and that would just mess up the whole drive. So I really don't miss that, and I don't think that DK in what's year 7 for him is gonna all of a sudden change that. Pittsburgh's defense just not good enough. I love Mike Tomlin. I've praised him for being able to win 19 games with whatever quarterback he has and whatever cards he's dealt, but this defense is just not coached well enough. It's the second most expensive defense. You got a crazy secondary. You got 2 Hall of Fame players and Cam Ward and TJ Watt on your defensive line, but when it matters the most, you can't get it done. Couldn't do it against Green Bay in the second half. Couldn't do it in the end towards Cincinnati. And when you're paying a defense that much, you just have to get more results. And so far in Pittsburgh, they just haven't been able to do that. And a lot of that goes back to Mike Tomlin. So he needs to get that figured out, but I'm not sure if he's going to be able to get it figured out. I just think this is going to be another repeat season for the Pittsburgh Steelers where they start off hot, they win like 4 or 5 games out of like 6, 7 games, and then they just have a tailspin, and that's probably going to happen this time around also. Green Bay, kudos to them. Jordan Love had a phenomenal game. This is probably the best Jordan Love game I've ever seen him play. 29 for 37, 360 yards. And that Green Bay pass rush with Micah really, really came through. And it's been coming through. It came through against Arizona. And Micah Parsons is showing why they decided to pay him the big bucks. And I feel that Green Bay is trending in the right direction. They got Carolina, Philly, and New York. Two of those 3 games should be dubs. And if they can do that, they got a pretty good shot of winning the division and contending with Detroit. Now I want to talk about Chicago and Baltimore. I was just shocked about Baltimore losing this game. When I found out that Lamar wasn't playing, I was thinking, okay, Chicago is going to get the dub. I thought even with Lamar playing, Chicago would be able to get the dub because Baltimore just hasn't been playing well as of late, even when they had Lamar around. And with Tyler Huntley playing, who's a pretty good backup, by the way, but I still thought Chicago would be able to do its thing, but they weren't. And Caleb Williams simply wasn't good enough. He threw an interception with about 9 minutes left, and it's 16-13. Chicago was at their own 4-yard line. Baltimore gets it, and it's a TD, and all of a sudden they're up 23-13. And after that, it was over. Chicago got a field goal to cut it down to 23-16, but then Baltimore got another touchdown, and it's 30-16 with 2 minutes left, and that practically ended it. Caleb Williams, he just did not have a good passing game despite what the stats say. He had a 77.2 passer rating. That's the 3rd time in the last 4 games where he's been below 80. He's just hit and miss, and he just struggles with accuracy. He just struggles with the intermediate stuff, and even though he was 25 for 38 for 285, it was just not good enough. And I said that he would be up and down in Ben Johnson's offensive system, but this is a game that you got to win. But I guess this is just a game where Caleb Williams was going to have a down game, and this loss drops them to 4-3. I never thought that they would make the playoffs, but with this loss, it's probably going to be tough for them to make the playoffs, especially with Green Bay and Detroit playing the way that they are. One thing I will say about Caleb Williams, he has been better, and getting the ball out of his hands, but he just needs to be better. And in his draft class, when Jaden Daniels has balled out, I know he's had injuries, but still, he led his team to an NFC championship as a rookie. Drake May has been balling out, and Drake May is in the same situation as Caleb, where he has a new coach, new offensive coordinator, and he's playing really, really well. And Bo Nix, he led his team to the playoffs last year, and now he has a 6-2 record. And it's more likely than not that Bo Nix is going to lead his team to the playoffs. And Bo Nix, while he doesn't have good touch on the deep ball, he can do the intermediate stuff really, really well. And Caleb really struggles with that. And so far, Caleb is like the fourth best quarterback so far. I still think he has a very high ceiling, but he's got to be better. We're like 7 games into the season with Chicago, almost halfway through. Second half, he's got to show more improvement. He just has to. And third season, he has to hit the ground running and just ball out. And if he's not able to do that, then there are serious questions about whether or not he should be the starting quarterback of the Chicago Bears going forward, and whether or not Chicago should look to go in a different direction, because they got a lot of talent, man, with the DJ Moore, Swift, Roma Dunze, Luther Burden, Colston Loveland, Cole Kmet. They have a lot of talent on the perimeter, and they really made a concerted effort to revamp that offensive line. So he has to be better playing the quarterback position. You got Cincinnati next week, and Caleb better ball out, and that Bears offense better get rolling then, because Justin Fields got a dub against Cincinnati, and God bless Justin Fields. Glad he was able to ball out, and I felt a little bad when he said that, he was crying in his closet, whatnot, and how it's been a tough week for him. I can just imagine. But Caleb Williams, you got to play better against Cincinnati, and that should be a get-right game for you. And if you can't play well against Cincinnati, I don't even know what to say at that point. Ben Johnson might lose an eye if they lose against Cincinnati and if they have a poor performance. Want to talk Monday Night Football, Chiefs Commanders. The good news for the Commanders is Scary Terry and Deebo Samuels are back. Of course, we know that Marcus Mariota is the starter with Jaden Daniels out with his hamstring injury. I think the Chiefs are going to win, no doubt. They've just been rolling ever since Xavier Worthy came back, and they looked really, really good last week when they had a Rashee Rice, and they just boat raced the Las Vegas Raiders, and they made the Raiders look like a college team, honestly. And in that game, they could have really ran up the score, but I guess Andy Reid has a lot more class and didn't want to run up the score. But I actually don't think it'll be a blowout by any means, and I think the Commanders can certainly make it interesting. I know that Marcus Mariota isn't the most talented player, but he's been in the league for 11 years now. He's really, really experienced. He's been a starter for a long, long time. And I think having Terry McLaurin and Deebo Samuels is huge, and that's going to help him out a bunch. They're going to need Ja'Cory Cross-Get-Merritt to show up. Running game is a quarterback's best friend, especially for a backup quarterback. And going against that KC defense isn't going to be really easy, I think, but I don't think it's impossible. I mean, it's not like KC's run defense is world beaters by any means. According to Fox Sports, they're 15th in the league, and they're allowing 105 yards per game. Plus, it's a must-win for the Commanders, so I'm probably thinking that they're going to rise their level of play, and they're going to really go full bore, because if they lose this game, I think they know that their playoff chances are going to go down significantly lower. So they know that their playoff chances hinge on them winning this game. Now, I don't think it's a guarantee that they're going to win this game, but I think with the players knowing the stakes and whatnot, that they're going to go pedal to the metal, especially when you have a backup quarterback and you need to help your backup quarterback by having a good run game and a good defense. You win this game, you're 4-4. You're only 2 games behind the Eagles. It's not easy, but it is impossible. And if Jaden Daniels comes back, you got a shot and you face the Eagles twice. So you kind of have your destiny in your own hands. I gotta say, if the Commanders just roll over and they just get the doors blown off them, that's really a cause for concern. It just makes me question, like, whether or not they had it to make the playoffs anyways, even with Jaden Daniels. But I got the Chiefs winning 27-14. I think it'll be close for like 2.5, 3 quarters or so, but I think that the Chiefs are going to pull away at the end. Now, I want to give my thoughts on the NBA first week. First off, I want to talk about Victor Wembanyama. That dude is awesome. I watched that Dallas game and he just gave it to Anthony Davis, 40 points. And you would think Anthony Davis, not that you can ever stop great offensive players, but you think he would be able to give Victor Wembanyama some trouble. He simply wasn't. Training with Shaolin monks, and then on the basketball side, training with Kevin Garnett, Hakeem Olajuwon. It really seems like it's helped. I really like how Victor Wembanyama isn't so dependent on just taking a bunch of threes. It really seems he's changed his shot diet. He's taking it to the rim. He's really showing off his moves in the low block. I think he's going to be first team at NBA. I know people are talking about him being best player in the world, but I can't go there quite yet. You have to do it in the playoffs for me to give you best player, and honestly, you have to win a championship in order for people to crown you as the best player, and I don't think that's totally unfair. I think the Spurs can be a top 6 team, especially with De'Aaron Fox. Whenever he comes back, I think that they should go up another level or so with the way that Wembanyama is playing, and their young guys and Stephon Castle, Devin Vassell, and the pieces they've added to their bench, like Luke Cornett. Cooper Flag, he had ups and downs that first game against San Antonio. He was more aggressive yesterday against Toronto. I really like the way he plays, even though he wasn't as aggressive as he should have been against San Antonio. I like the way he plays. He plays within the flow of the offense. He likes to do the little things. There's been a lot of talk about Jason Kidd playing Cooper Flag at the point guard. I don't mind it too much. Obviously, that isn't going to be his position for the rest of his career, and he's probably going to be more of a point forward type. But I guess, running the point and just learning how it works and just getting an offense going, I don't think that's a bad thing for him to learn, especially with him being 18 years old and whatnot. As long as Jason Kidd, and I'm sure Jason Kidd is okay with it, with him having his bumps and bruises and not caring too much about wins and losses at this point, I can see the vision. I just hope that if it gets overwhelming for him, Jason Kidd will pull the plug on it a little bit and just help Cooper get into the flow of things so that he can go back to running point guard. But once Kyrie Irving comes back, he'll probably go back to his more natural position. I mean, Jason Kidd did the same thing with Giannis where he had him play point guard, and I think that really helped Giannis in his career also. So I'm excited for Cooper Flag. He's a really, really good player, and I think he has a pretty good shot of winning Rookie of the Year, although VJ Edgecombe is balling, and he's had a hell of a start also, so he can definitely contend with Cooper Flag when it comes to Rookie of the Year. Want to talk about the Warriors. I really like this team. Kuminga is just playing on another level. It really seems like he's regained the trust of Steve Kerr after, last season when they traded for Jimmy Butler, and Steve Kerr pretty much relegated him to the bench. He's doing all the little things. He can really make open shots down, which is good for him. He can rebound. He's playing really, really good defense, and I just love it. Al Horford, great pickup. Everyone thought that it would be a great pickup, and it's been as advertised. He can pick and pop. He can shoot. He can play within the flow of the offense, and he can still play pretty good defense at an old age. The only thing with Al Horford, of course, is just managing his workload. And, he's not going to play tonight against Memphis, and he didn't play against Portland on Friday. So I don't mind Kerr, load managing Al Horford when he's so freaking old. You're going to need that guy for the playoffs. I just hope the load management works. If the load management doesn't work and somehow Al Horford gets nicked up, that's going to be really, really bad, because Golden State just does not have a lot of size. They have like a surplus of guards with DeAnthony Melton, excuse me, Brandon Pazimski, um, Gary Payton, Will Richards, who I really like. He's really, really smart. I saw this video on social media where Kerr is talking about how he loves him and how he just knows how to play and how he's always cutting and whatnot. And he just seems like a perfect fit for that offensive system. So kudos to Golden State for finding him in the second round. But other than that, they just don't have size really. Trace Jackson Davis is not that good, I guess. He really doesn't get any playing time whatsoever. Quentin Post is a pick and pop guy. He'll get some minutes here and there, but other than that, there's not really much to his game. So I think they really need someone who has size and who can play defense in the low post. I don't know if it's out there or not. The Warriors, I mean, for the past, I don't know, 8, 9 years, they haven't really cared about having a big man really. So I don't think that Steve Kerr is going to be too concerned about it, but I'm concerned about it because I just don't want Draymond Green playing a lot of five. I mean, he's obviously an hellacious and a great defensive player, but the guy is getting up in age. This is like his 14th year, and he's going to be what, like 36 if he's not already 36. So it's tough to do that, especially when you're guarding some of the other better players like Jokic, Anthony Davis, or like Chet Holmgren, or like Isaiah Hartenstein. That's going to be tough and physically taxing for his body. I know the Warriors are probably going to load manage him to a degree, but I just think they need to find a way to get more size. And I think if they can get more size, they have a pretty good shot of being a pretty good team in the West. I know like last year they started off pretty hot, tailed off, and then they got Butler, and then they soared. But I think with Jimmy Butler being there and having a full off season and whatnot, and having a lot of regular season playoffs last year, I think they'll be in pretty good shape, and I think that they're going to be a top four team in the West. Now I want to talk about the Los Angeles Lakers. After that opening game against the Warriors, Lakers fans, predictably, they just overreacted. They wanted everyone gone. They wanted Austin Reeves gone. They wanted JJ Redick fired. They said he couldn't coach whatsoever, and they were like, it's over for this team. But I don't know. Past two games, they look pretty good. Luka dropped 49 against Minnesota. Austin Reeves dropped 51 against the Kings. DeAndre Ayton, it really seems like him and Austin Reeves are getting their chemistry together. He knows he has to roll hard and just get those lobs. So kudos to him after having a bad game. Unfortunately, Luka is out for a week, so the offense is going to be on Reeves, and I think Reeves will show out, and I think they'll be able to tread water until LeBron comes back. And I think once LeBron comes back, they should be able to get back into the grooves of things. Really, I think they're definitely a top four, top five team in the Western Conference for sure once they get their trio together. And I've talked a lot, I mean, not a lot, I've brought up the injuries with like Luka, De'Aaron Fox, um, and I just saw that Anthony Edwards is going to be out with a hamstring injury also. And it's just crazy how like before the season or just when the season has started, players are just getting these soft tissue injuries. And I just don't understand why it's happening. You would think with like 4, 5, 6 months off for some of these players, you would be able to get ready to go and just hit the ground running. But some of these players haven't been able to do that. And I'm not questioning like their training or whatever. I'm sure they're doing a good job of taking care of their bodies or whatnot, but I don't know. Maybe something is wrong with the training, or maybe the training staff on these teams just isn't doing a good job. I mean, Stan Van Gundy brought up a couple of years ago about how the NBA is less physical than it was in the 90s, but these injuries are just piling up, and I just don't understand why it's happening. And there just needs to be a full, thorough investigation on why these injuries are happening, because it just stinks when stars are already out at the start of the regular season. And when the regular season starts, the NBA has a lot of games on national TV, and it stinks that viewers, fans in the stands are just not going to be able to see the star marquee players when the season rolls around. And it's a little bit crazy. And I'm assuming that a lot of fans buy tickets at the beginning because they know that the main guys are going to be healthy, but that just hasn't been that this time around. And I just hope the NBA can figure that stuff out, because we need stars healthy, man. That's what makes the NBA great. So I hope that they can figure it out and hopefully, I don't know, maybe change the training methods for these players because it just stinks. And yeah, that's about all I have for you guys. I will be back this Wednesday. I will talk about the Commanders Chiefs game, talk little bit more NFL stuff, and also a little bit of NBA stuff. And yeah, that's all I have for you guys. Thank you so much for listening to me. Please like and subscribe and enjoy the Monday night game between the Chiefs and Commanders. Thank you.